Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to our webinar series about Marketing Cloud. We are really happy to see you to answer all the questions. I see that right now we have some first answers. Hi, Jim. Please, everyone, just let us know where are you from, how are you doing. We're happy to chat with you. Today we have a wonderful speaker with us, Anastasia Penska. She is the lead Salesforce Marketing Cloud in Poland, and she's working for a global company, PwC. She is guru in Marketing Cloud, and we are really happy that she agreed today to talk about some tools that are must-have for marketing developers. So she will have a great presentation and information for us all uh, to understand how it's like to become a marketing developer and what things are expected in the daily life practice. So Anastasia, so the stage is yours. Um, so I will be leaving for now, and please continue with your presentation.
Thanks, Oksana. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. And I think, we all have heard a lot about Marketing Cloud this week mainly because it is Dreamforce week and, marketing keynote and all of the good stuff that Salesforce has prepared for us has probably got us very excited. So my role here today would actually be to tell you a bit more about Marketing Cloud Connect. And myself, I do have a background of working with Marketing Cloud on, a lot of different projects and implementing it into different industries for different clients, for big clients, and also not only Marketing Cloud, the core platform, but also all of the range of Marketing Cloud products that Salesforce offers. And for that reason, I'm well aware that in Marketing Cloud, because the platform is on the recipient side of the data, we are normally integrated with the CRM. We are normally getting data from somewhere so that those marketing processes can start and so that all of the marketing campaigns can be fed with the high quality data to then use it for personalized journeys. It is very important for us to understand what is Marketing Cloud Connect. Of course, Salesforce CRM is the main platform that Marketing Cloud can get the data from, and very many projects that I have been part of, it was exactly the case, the scenario when we had a master database of records on the Salesforce side, and then we would use Marketing Cloud as your main communication channel for all the contacts and leads and whatnot that are sitting in Salesforce. So for that reason, today I'm going to talk a little bit about Marketing Cloud Connect. I'm going to go into some details about what the Marketing Cloud Connect is for, etc., etc. So actually, to give you an overview, what's going to be happening today, we have an agenda. So first of all, we're going to have some overview of the features that we have in Marketing Cloud. So what is it for? What can we actually do with it? And what it is not actually. So then we're going to dive straight into the very important question that is mainly a question that happens on the implementation projects before we actually start the implementation is actually, are we doing a single org or a multi-org? Many of you maybe already heard this expression. It's very blurry when you just look at it on itself, and you actually need to understand the structure of Marketing Cloud to be able to get the gist of it. Then, of course, we're going to talk data flows, right? So Marketing Cloud is a platform where marketing happens. However, the implementation of Marketing Cloud has maybe something about marketing, but the majority of it is about data modeling, about data flows, about integrations and automations and process mappings. So we actually need to understand how the data is flowing from one system to the other in order to be able to create a coherent data model, and that data model is then future-proof for the marketers to be able to use without any knowledge of code. So for that reason, number 3 and number 4 will be in our topic, in our agenda, will be focused on the data flows. So first, Salesforce data into Marketing Cloud, and then second of all, Marketing Cloud data flow into Salesforce. And then we're going to go into some use cases. We have some common and less common use cases for Marketing Cloud. And then, of course, we'll finish it with a rounding up of the topic, looking into connector instructions and common errors that may occur. And then, very swiftly, we'll transition into me giving you some advice at how you can actually work on your own to get your Marketing Cloud Connect skills level up and how you can actually practice it. And of course, in the end, some of you, if you will actually stay through the full presentation, you'll be able to answer some questions on Menti so that you could actually check yourself. Have you been listening attentively to this presentation? Are you actually now an expert in Marketing Cloud Connect, etc.? And of course, after that, if you have any questions, I'll be here for you. And you can type your questions in LinkedIn. I'll be trying to watch for that space as we go through our presentation. And if I see something that I can actually address during the presentation, I will. If there are more kind of build out questions that require like more of a story for me to show to you, I will then, of course, leave them till the end of our presentation. Okay, let's go then. So, overview of how Marketing Cloud connects to Salesforce. Really, this slide is a bit full of different blocks and errors, but mainly Marketing Cloud Connect is two things. First of all, it is the managed package in Salesforce. So what you do is you install managed package in Salesforce, accordingly a production one if you are looking at production, or at a sandbox if you are installing it and connecting Marketing Cloud to Salesforce. And of course, secondly, it is a setup configuration in Marketing Cloud. So when you are configuring the connector, you will need to go through several steps in Marketing Cloud. And for that, of course, you need to have access to the setup where it's always happening in. And for that, you probably need quite high permissions in Marketing Cloud. Best for it to be an admin, I think. So basically, when we are talking about the feature overview, as you can see on the screen here, we have two directions, and those two directions will be reviewed in detail in this presentation today. So first of all, and it really corresponds to the features, right? So first of all, we have the objects. So Marketing Cloud Connect serves for us to be able to get the data from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud so that we are able to use it for segmentation, for our data transformations, for any personalizations we need, etc., etc. And what happens is when you have a standard or a custom object in Salesforce, when it is being, after the connection is being established between the two clouds, you have the synchronized data extensions that are being created in Marketing Cloud automatically. And as far as the synchronization goes, whatever the user that is being used for the integration has access to in Salesforce, all of those objects and fields will be also available for you to be pulled into Marketing Cloud. And synchronized data extensions are just your simple data extensions. Hopefully all of you are familiar with what data extension is. It's just basically a table with data. And those synchronous data extensions are a copy of the data, like a flat copy of the object that is sitting in Salesforce. You might ask, what about external objects? External objects are not pulled through via connector, and they are not transferred into synchronized data extensions. So only your standard and only your custom objects, not external objects. Campaigns and reports. So basically, you are able to use campaigns from Salesforce and reports from Salesforce and import them into Marketing Cloud to use as your starting subscriber list for you to use and as a segment, for example, or for you to use for information reporting for any kind of such thing that can be used in data extension. So the third feature that comes in a Salesforce to Marketing Cloud flow is that Marketing Cloud can react to any updates or changes that are made in Salesforce. So let's say the use case would be you have a case that's being closed in Salesforce, or an opportunity that is being won in Salesforce, or say a status of the lead has changed. All of those different actions can trigger something in Marketing Cloud, will trigger actually journey in Marketing Cloud. So journey entry event is the accepting part on Marketing Cloud on that side. In terms of campaign join, it is a actually a different entry event in Journey Builder that is also part of the feature. When someone is added to a Salesforce campaign, they can be added into Journey and Marketing Cloud. There are a couple of different scenarios about that, so we will be looking at it in more detail in a while, but it's also very useful actually. And of course, the data, right? So, of course, the synchronous data extensions, they are very useful on their own. However, the data that they are containing is also something that you can use for the personalization in your emails, in your SMS, in any of your actual communication. And you could transform this data, you can use it in different ways, whatever you want in Marketing Cloud. The other way around, we also have, of course, the tracking data that comes from Marketing Cloud into Salesforce in the form of individual results. We also have some Salesforce activities in Journey Builder, and those are able to update and change different objects in Salesforce as part of the journey. We are also able to shift and use all of the Marketing Cloud unsubscribes when they are mapped to the consent statuses in Salesforce. And finally, we do have the email sends from Salesforce that are actually coming from Marketing Cloud. So all of the emails that need to be created for those sends need to first be created in Marketing Cloud, and hence this data is also available in Salesforce. Awesome. So that's a very, very high level overview of all the features. So let's actually dive in, right? So for us to dive into every single bit of those different features, we need to understand how Salesforce is connected to Marketing Cloud in different scenarios. And the only two scenarios that are most common, of course, there can be some custom ones, but those that actually use Marketing Cloud connector are the single org versus multi-org setup. So in this diagram, you can actually see the difference between single org and multi-org. So what is a single org? A single org essentially is whenever you have one single Salesforce and you have one single Marketing Cloud org, and regardless of how many business units, child business units you have on this org, the connection that you establish between the two is only happening on the parent level, right? On the org level. So you have one user on Salesforce side, you have one user on Marketing Cloud side, and you use the two to establish this connection. Basically, you are installing your Marketing Cloud app managed package on Salesforce side. You use the credentials to log in into Marketing Cloud, and on the other side, you go create your Marketing Cloud API user in Marketing Cloud and use the credentials of the system user to log in into Salesforce. And this way, the handshake happens, and you establish the connection. And if the connection happens to be only on the parent level of the orgs, it is called a single org. So there are some pros and cons, of course, for the single org. It's the simplest setup you can have, and it's, of course, a perk in itself. And you are able, for example, to use profile attributes when you have a single org connection. So profile attributes are your subscriber attributes that are sitting in Email Studio in Marketing Cloud, and they are actually something that overarches all of the business units, so all of the org in Marketing Cloud. And if, of course, you are using single org, you are able to map them to the fields of the contact or leads in Salesforce, and for the synchronization for those attributes to be going, into Marketing Cloud flawlessly. However, if you are not using single org, profile attributes is not something that you are able to use, and I'll go to this when we go to marketing to multi-org. And of course, the second point about single org is that the data can be shared between the business units, right? So it doesn't mean that if you establish this connection on the parent business unit level, you're not able to see anything on the child business unit level. You are able to use shared data extensions to share the data. And actually, in many cases, in my experience, it is one of the choices when the client is actually, they are interested in having parent business unit as, say, like an administration business unit, and then actually share the information down and have all the control of what information is being shared to child business units. So they're using something like an SQL query and a shared data extension to divide the information between those child business units very accurately by specific attributes, by specific qualities. And by this, they're not messing with, the multi-org and reestablishing of connector. They're not messing with maintaining all of the different connections. and they have all of the control from the parent business unit. The downside, of course, of it is that you need to be sure that those sharings of data are being maintained correctly, and you also have this limitation of full dependence of the child business units on whatever is happening on the parent business unit. So when we move to multi-org, though, there are a couple of scenarios here, actually. There isn't one, there are actually two scenarios that I wanted to introduce to you, and probably some variations of those. So the main two ones. So the first one is here in the middle of the graph. So you have one Salesforce org connected to one Marketing Cloud business unit, and it can actually be a parent business unit because in this setup, parent business unit acts just like a business unit in terms of connection. Of course, in terms of Marketing Cloud data model, it is still acting as a parent, but in terms of connection, it still acts as a business unit. And we have some other Salesforce org and child business units on Marketing Cloud side. So with this, you have one user in Salesforce that you would use to connect to one user in Marketing Cloud, and you have to have a dedicated user on Marketing Cloud for each of those different orgs. And of course, you need to have a user dedicated in each of those Salesforce orgs for the handshake. So the perks of this is you are able to have independence between different business units. And in that, for example, you can have one Salesforce org to be your production, and it can be connected to one business unit. And then you would have, your sandboxes like your QA, your seat, your UAT and pre-prod, all of those sandboxes. You can connect them to different business units in Marketing Cloud. And by that, you are able to act, kind of simulate the sandbox environments in Marketing Cloud, and developers can develop it on one business unit and deploy it to the next business unit. Testers can test it there, then deploy it to the next business unit, and then users can test it there before you actually deploy it to production. So this setup is actually quite popular. It does have some flaws. So if you are using business units for your development division, right? So development stages division, you need to make sure that you have, thought through very well how the deployment between different orgs looks like, and how this looks like not only on Marketing Cloud side, but also in Salesforce side, because Marketing Cloud connector does not necessarily, upgrade and deploy all of the changes from one Salesforce to the other the same as you would want it ideally, right? No, we don't actually have any sandboxes in Marketing Cloud, Lakshmi. So unfortunately, we need to use business units to act as ones sometimes. And because these are not sandboxes in Marketing Cloud, you are, of course, in risk of sending some test emails to the database that you are not actually planning to do it. So your testers and your developers need to be very aware of the fact that they are working with a production-based business unit that is acting as a sandbox because it's connected to a sandbox on Salesforce side through the Marketing Cloud Connect. So because it is connected with Marketing Cloud Connect, you need to be very mindful of how those different connections are working and which deployment is going on, as I mentioned before. So you need to manage each connection. So say if a deployment in Salesforce messes up some of the settings or permission sets that you had set up for your system user on Salesforce side, this will most likely mess up the Marketing Cloud Connect. You would need to reconnect it again. And when you are reconnecting your Marketing Cloud Connect, your synchronized data extensions are disappearing. And as they are disappearing, some of your journeys can also disappear because of the connection is lost if they are based on Salesforce data, etc., etc. So you need to be mindful of that. However, you are able to do your development and your testing independently if you're using it like that. So that's the first kind of multi-org setup. And of course, there are different use cases for multi-org setup. You can have, for example, different markets of the same company that need to operate independently and need to connect to different CRMs. You can have different parts of business that need to have different CRMs. You can actually have, some of those connected to the same CRM, while some of the others connect to different CRMs. So multi-org really allows you to mix and match those connections. The only thing that you need to remember is you are not able to connect two Salesforces into one Marketing Cloud business unit. So you need to be very, very aware of that. So it's always one-to-one, really. And the other way around, you're not able to do as well. So only one-to-one way. And here's also, the other setup that is also possible. You are able to connect multiple business units of Marketing Cloud into the same Salesforce org. So in this case, you would ideally use, one user that has access to all of the different business units in Marketing Cloud side, and you would have one Salesforce user that also has access to all of the needed data. And this way, what you are able to do is, for example, synchronize different objects in different business units and hence have some slightly different available data there. And you are able to, disconnect and then connect again those business units independently. So you get all of that independence. Of course, there is some limitation. You can have up to 5 business units connected this way. So other than that, the performance will be actually under impact. So you need to be mindful of that. And also, of course, with all of the multi-org setup, you are not able to connect your profile attributes. Why? Mainly because, profile attributes are an umbrella feature that covers all of the different business units that you have on your org. And basically, you are able to only connect them whenever you have a single org. Otherwise, the data from different Salesforces may be, overwriting and overlapping and conflicting between different Salesforces. And of course, the platform does not really allow it for you. I think it does look slightly similar, Haya, but I think the difference is in that you are able to disconnect them independently and connect them independently and have some synchronization differences among them, and hence have some independence between the orgs. So I would say that it's also quite a frequent choice for the client. Okay, so the important part is once multi-org is enabled, you cannot disable it. So you must be very aware of what are the consequences of having a multi-org and what you are losing when you are deciding to switch to multi-org, because it's not reversible. And hence Salesforce will be asking you this question, which is very correct, because all of your Marketing Cloud setup will be affected by the multi-org setup. Okay, so the overview. The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So the connected app, right? This is the managed package that you are installing on your Salesforce, and it's very easy to install, right? The bad part of it is that there is no way to extend it because it is a managed package. It's not an unmanaged package, and it can be quite hard to debug. Like, you really need to know what are the features of Marketing Cloud Connect and what it impacts and what kind of prerequisites are there, permission sets are there, the setup is there, so that you are able to debug it. Sometimes you do run into errors while creating this connection, and I will go into the errors in the very end of the presentation, so stick there for it. And of course, because it's a black box kind of, it's on one hand, it's plug and play. On the other hand, well, if it didn't plug exactly how we wanted it to plug in, we are in trouble. We need to fix it. The syncing objects, so it's another feature, and it also has good and bad, in my opinion. So of course, the good is it's very easy to configure, right? You just choose your synchronized object, and you choose your fields, and you choose how often it can actually synchronize. It can synchronize up to, the most frequent is 15 minutes. It can also go up to every hour. So you can actually slightly set it up, but not fully customize it. But it's very easy to add new objects and new fields as long as your connector users, as long as your user has access to them. The bad is it's not possible to unsync the object. You can unsync specific fields in that object, but you're not able to unsync the object itself. You would need to disconnect Marketing Cloud Connect entirely and then connect it again, and then resynchronize the objects that you want to synchronize if you want to change and unsync some of them. And of course, Syncing errors. There can be some syncing errors. For example, it can just show you that the contacts are not being registered, and you just need to, contact support, and they will need to, look under the hood and see what's happening there in the backend and see what kind of errors they're seeing and help you to debug it. It's quite hard to debug on your own. And of course, the journey builder components, right? So the good part is you can trigger journeys based on the changes in Salesforce, and you can create objects, and it's all part of the journey, which is exactly what a marketer wants, right? So they want for a task to be created at a specific moment. They want a lead to be converted at a specific moment. So, and all of it allows you to actually act based on the behavior of your clients as they go through the journey, and this makes the journey very personalized. On the other hand, though, something like external objects are not available, and also things like formula fields won't trigger a journey. And there is also a slight caveat when it comes to the campaigns. So the Salesforce campaigns actually only trigger a journey on joining of that campaign. So if you are, if you've added all of your different campaign members to a campaign and you want them to join a journey based on the status of their campaign, it's not exactly happening. So if you want to use that trigger, they will be triggered only on the join. Okay, so let's go into the data flow. So first of all, Salesforce to Marketing Cloud data flow. So let's dive in. As I mentioned before, every 15 minutes, the data is going from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud. So every object becomes a synchronized data extension. So it flattens the structure that we see in Salesforce. Of course, none of your permission sets, like all permissions to that object, field level security, none of your layouts, none of your actions, anything that you have, connected to that object is not transferred. Only the basic data model, the schema of this object, is basically transferred with the records, of course, as part of your roles in data extension. So in data extension, you have different field types. And as you can see here, for example, in Salesforce, I have a contact ID, of course. That's something that is not visible exactly on the page itself. Sometimes it can be if you want to take it out, but it's not by default. But it's very important for Marketing Cloud. We have, for example, first name, last name, email, interests for this person, and age. Those are just the ones I kind of made up. And you can see that some of them have a different data type in Salesforce, right? So when they come into Marketing Cloud in form of synchronized data extensions, they have slightly different data type, and you need to remember about it. So contact ID becomes a primary key in Marketing Cloud. Primary key meaning it is a column in data extension that identifies a unique row. So the data in that column identifies unique row of that data extension. And then when it comes to email address, it has its own data type, but things like multi-pick list and formula, those are just becoming text. And it is very important with things like multi-pick list because you're thinking you're getting multiple values, but you're kind of forgetting one big value separated by comma, right? So you need to be aware of that. And when you would be working on Marketing Cloud projects and you would want to advise your marketers of which fields they would be needing to use as part of their segmentation, it may be very obvious for them that they wanted to filter on the data that is in multi-pick list, right, or on data that is being generated on itself because it's a formula. They won't be able to really that easily use it in Marketing Cloud because they need to remember what are the different values of those pick lists because Marketing Cloud doesn't provide you with a dropdown. And if, for example, the formula output was a number, it is still a text in Marketing Cloud, so no number transformations can also be available for them. An important part here is also that the contact ID relates to subscriber key in Marketing Cloud. Subscriber key meaning it is the column in the data extension that the system now knows identifies a specific subscriber. Hence, it will be a kind of gathering all of the behavior, all of the sending data on this particular subscriber, even if in different data extension, this subscriber has slightly different information. it will be the unique identifier of the subscriber in the system. So can we sync or connect any Salesforce CRM object, standard or custom? We have the question on the chat. And yes, we can actually connect any standard or custom object from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud, not the external objects though. So that's the important bit. And they all will be presented in synchronized data extensions like that. So when it comes to other part of the data that is being pulled from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud, we also have something that is called Salesforce data extensions. So those, like a report that are public reports and campaigns, they also become Salesforce data extensions and just data extensions. And actually, there can be just mapped fields between those, and you can set up an automation to pull the data with an import activity from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud. When you create an import definition, you choose your report or your campaign, and you're able to pull the data through using Salesforce Marketing Cloud Connect. So we also mentioned before Salesforce data, right? So when you look at your Marketing Cloud, you can see that you have several different entry sources that you can pick from that would be the entry event for your journey. And one of them is Salesforce data, and Salesforce data has several options. So first of them is Salesforce data itself. And the Salesforce data allows you to choose from different objects, both standard and custom, to which your system user in Salesforce has access to. And based on the creations or updates of those different objects, you are able to trigger your contacts to get into Marketing Cloud, right? And when you are configuring those, it is important to note that you need to think really well what exactly needs to trigger your journey. Because if you choose, for example, that it's elite status and it's only when the lead is of ranking hot, for example, then both of those qualifications need to happen at the same time for the lead to join the journey if you choose it in the trigger part of your entry event configuration. If you want to only trigger it, for example, on the status and then filter it on whether the ranking is hot, you do it in the next step of filtering, right? So remember, when you configure the trigger itself, only choose those qualities of your objects that you are certain will be happening at the same time simultaneously so that they can actually trigger the journey. Hands-on, absolutely, we will have like hands-on homework part of this presentation, but I won't be actually going into the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Connect into the system today. So Salesforce campaign is another one, and as I mentioned, you would need to make sure that the trigger on your Salesforce campaign is on the join of campaign itself. So basically, you are not triggering it on the change of the status or on the change of the record of the campaign member. You're only triggering it on the join of campaign. So that one is also quite tricky. Of course, you also have the Salesforce community welcome one, which in my personal experience is not a very commonly used one, but however, if you have an Experience Cloud, then I think it's also useful. So the next thing that happens when you have data flow from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud is that you can use this data for personalization. And here you have just a very basic example of it. So you are able to use your %% in Marketing Cloud to actually get the data from the synchronized data extensions or any data extensions that are produced based on those synchronized data extensions into your Marketing Cloud email. So this can be data from Salesforce objects. You can also format this data using AMScript. You can use AMScript actually to update data in Salesforce from your email. So say you have a use case where you would need to personalize the data based on the information you have about a contact. And based on that, you would also want to log some information in Marketing Cloud. For example, what exactly was the result of your personalization, or what exactly was the result of your lookup. So you can also do it in one email. Of course, you also have the fact that the journey populates the data in data extensions automatically when they're chosen, let's say Salesforce data is chosen for the entry event. So the data from Salesforce also lands in Marketing Cloud. So if you want to have some decision splits based on journey data later on in your journey, you are able to do that. So just refer to the data extension that was created based on the trigger. And of course, you are also able to use this not only in email, but also in mobile channel. Right, so let's go the other way around. Marketing Cloud to Salesforce data flow. So first of all, of course, individual email results. This is like a very much blackout example of it because obviously it contains some data that is being delicate. So basically what an individual email result is the object in Salesforce that is part of the managed package that allows you to track the information and track the emails sent from Marketing Cloud and for them to be visible against the record of a contact or lead in Salesforce. Those need to be added to the page layout for your contact and lead. And of course, they need, and your users that would be viewing them in Salesforce need to have access to them. To remember about those permission sets in Salesforce when you are configuring it. And the individual email results themselves are, well, they're not a, panacea for, all of your dreams and wishes. They are quite limited in a sense that you're not able to add, more fields to them because it's a managed package object. You are not able to, populate them faster. For example, they only populate every 90 minutes. You also are not able to use other channels, so it's only for email. So some of those different limitations still exist there, but again, it's actually very helpful for marketers to know what is the situation with their campaigns and with their emails that are being sent. Of course, the other limitation is the email preview. So email preview does not contain any rendered personalizations that were created in Marketing Cloud after the send. So it only gives you the preview of the emails if you have like a bunch of AMP script in your email and your email is basically just AMP script and all of it is dynamic. The preview of it will also be just, preview and all the AMP script, etc. Right. So another very helpful one is your sales and service cloud activities. So amongst those, you are able to perform some activities on your account, campaign member, case, contact, lead, as well as conversion of the lead, opportunity, and task. And this pretty one is the object activity. So this means you actually are able to perform tasks on all different standard and custom objects that are not mentioned here on the list. You're able to just use this object activity to customize it for your needs. And of course, you are able to create and update your objects and use your user ID from the journey as part of the identification which record to choose in Salesforce. So you are able to, for example, say, well, I want to create a task and I want the task to be created for a specific user and I want it to have the information in the task subject that a certain ID of the user is very active in reacting to the email chain in the journey. So basically, you are able to populate the data in this object that you are creating or updating with the data that you have in your journey. For example, like the ID of a contact. And of course, you are able to use those custom objects as I mentioned. So, world is your oyster when it comes to updating the data in Salesforce. You just need to make sure that what this object in Salesforce does is that actually being used by users, have users access to it, and whether you have any automations that are related to it. So if you are updating data using Marketing Cloud Journey and you're updating data in Salesforce, make sure that you're not, say, overwriting some data that is not supposed to be changed there and is being result, for example, of some flow, or you are populating data that is supposed to be populated by the user itself, right? So just be mindful of what exactly you are doing in Salesforce. Of course, those different individual email results also are, the part of the synchronization is the fact that you can push the unsubscription details into Salesforce. So the downside of it is it only works for the master and subscription and not for list subscriptions. So if in Marketing Cloud you have your publication lists, the data from those would not be going into Salesforce by default through the Marketing Cloud Connect. You need to write some automations and scripts for that to happen. And they're not ideal really for the standard consent model in Salesforce. So in Salesforce, I'm sure many of you know, we do have a standard GDPR model. So you have your contact point consents, you have your different data use purposes and whatnot. And if you are using that data model in Salesforce, you need to think how you can incorporate Marketing Cloud unsubscribes into it. So you need to map it, and you need to make sure that the data flows into it neatly, because the standard connector doesn't really cover that part of the consent model. Of course, you are able to send emails from Salesforce interface using Marketing Cloud emails. So basically, this is like a neat little interface where you are able to choose a contact or a campaign or report that you want to send a certain email to, and you can then choose from which business unit you want to send it, and then which email you want to send. So you would actually choose an email from Marketing Cloud Content Builder under this feature here, and provide your subject line, provide whether you want it to be sent from an email address or some classification that is built in Marketing Cloud, and then actually schedule it or send it immediately. Little disclaimer here. So there is a nice little checkbox here that says, I certify this person has opted in. And by this, of course, according to GDPR, you are required to say that you are able to send emails to the person that you actually decide to send them. But you need to remember that in Marketing Cloud, you also have this subscription data model, right, which based, for example, on the subscriber status in all subscribers. So even if you clicked this and you kind of certify this, the person is opted in, and in Marketing Cloud, this person is unsubscribed, well, then the email will not be sent, right? Or in the Marketing Cloud, it is hard bounced. Well, again, the email will not be sent. So you need to make sure that you understand that. But yeah, you are able to send to a contact report campaign, and you can use Marketing Cloud emails for it and send classifications, of course. You can schedule it and verify the opt-in basically on Marketing Cloud status. And if a contact is not in Marketing Cloud, they will be added into all subscribers after you click send. So click it with good decision behind it. So as we are moving through our topic, we come closer and closer to the use cases, right? So what are actually the use cases for Marketing Cloud? We kind of know what it is and how the data flows and how it flows one way and the other. So how can it actually be used? So those are kind of the main ones that I have thought of. Of course, there can be many variations, and there can be some very non-standard ones that I actually don't even know about. But when it comes to those most common ones and maybe less common ones. So in the most common ones, when you think about Marketing Cloud Connect, we think about 5 things, I think. So the ETL, the lookup into the database when needed, using the Salesforce object creation as part of the journey, triggering email based on the change from the field in Salesforce, and personalizing comms in the Marketing Cloud comms. And when it comes to the less common ones, we also have a simultaneous data in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, some data transformations, creating actually SMS results, using some consent management, and also distributed marketing. So let's actually go through those one by one. So when it comes to the common ones, when we say ETL of Salesforce contacts into Marketing Cloud or contacts, what do we mean by it? So first of all, let's say you have a new contact in Salesforce. So what you actually need to do is have it synchronized into Marketing Cloud and making sure that all of the needed attributes are being synchronized. Then you would need to build an SQL to transform the data from synchronized data extensions into what you actually need for your master data extension or your all contacts data model. And the duplicated populate the data, etc., etc. So it may be the case that you have several different objects from Salesforce that you need to combine in your SQL, flatten the data model, and push it all out into your mobile Connect. And then you can actually use the import activity in your automation to import the subscribers into your all subscribers and to all contacts mobile connect list. And you also would need to make sure that you upload the data with a proper subscription status. So based on our discussion previously, right, the consent status isn't something that naturally flows between the platforms, especially when it comes to a multi-org setup. So you really need to make sure that you are considering those when you are uploading the data into Marketing Cloud using an ETL purposed automation. So another common use case I mentioned is to look up data in Salesforce before creating subscriber in Marketing Cloud on the form submission. So let's imagine the situation: you have a web form, it is hosted on Marketing Cloud pages, and you need to make sure you understand whether you need to create a new subscriber or you need to actually update an existing subscriber whenever a submission of this form occurs. So let's say submission of the form occurs, then you need to have a Marketing Cloud processing page on which the purpose of the processing page is to have this lookup into synchronous data extensions or directly into Salesforce, and you would use Marketing Cloud Connect for it. So then we need to make sure, of course, that the processing page is hosted on Marketing Cloud. You would then use the AMP script lookup into Salesforce. So, of course, the Salesforce connector and Salesforce connector AMP script functions. And then once the data is submitted, then new subscriber is created or updating a new subscriber while also using AMP script, right? So you're able to use different, upsert functions from AMP script, and Salesforce creates single object functions in AMP script in order to get the data into both systems as you need. In terms of creating a task or actually using any Salesforce object as part of your journey, let's say you have a journey in Marketing Cloud, and as part of it, you have a task activity in journey. So it can be actually any object, but let's focus on the task. So you can then use journey data to populate the details, and you also can use both the journey data and contact data to populate that. So not only journey, but also contact. Hence, all the different synchronized data extensions are also visible as your contact data. Hence, they are also available as attribute groups in your contact builder. So that's very important. And then the task is being created in Salesforce, right? So there is some object creation in Salesforce with the data populated directly from the journey. Pretty neat. When it comes to triggered email based on changes in Salesforce, so let's say you have an object updated in Salesforce and you need the journey to be triggered. So you need to create and configure your journey trigger as part of the entry event and making sure you only include all the necessary filters. As I mentioned before, they need to occur simultaneously, and hence you would want ideally to narrow them down to only those that are required and to use any of the other filter criteria in the filter itself and not in the trigger configuration. So a data extension is created automatically for the trigger. Data is added into the data extension as the records, right? So as record enters the journey, the data is being added also into data extension. And of course, as the record enters, only those eligible for the entry will actually go through the journey and receive comms. So basically, the journey also looks at all of your different configurations. For example, if you have an email with a publication list attached to it as part of your journey, it will be checking whether a specific subscriber is eligible to receive the specific communication, regardless of the fact that they have entered the journey. Okay, and the next one is personalization of comms based on Salesforce data. So you are able to get the data from Salesforce, and as it flows into synchronous data extensions, you can use AMP script lookup function to get the data from there. Or you could, create a segment from synchronized data extensions using SQL and get the data that way and actually use it directly. Either way, you're able to get the data using AMP script in your email. And as you include this AMP script into your email, it can be, an AMP script inline directly written in the email itself, Or you could create like a more complicated logic in a content block that you can actually link by the contact block by ID into your email. And then it would, perform all of its magic somewhere in the backend and display with personalized data in the email. So as a result, you get personalized data from Salesforce. So as the data from Salesforce is changing, every 15 minutes, connector is getting the data into Marketing Cloud, and you are able to get this very much up-to-date data as presentation in your email. It's important though to make sure you think about what happens if the data in Salesforce is blank. So you would ideally have something like a default value or some fallback value that if you like to populate in your email if the data in Salesforce is blank. Awesome. Some less common use cases. I think it gets a bit more interesting here because all of the other ones, I think, if you know Marketing Cloud and you kind of understand the concept of Marketing Cloud Connect, you would kind of guess it, right? It was pretty obvious. So let's go into the interesting ones about the connector. So let's say simultaneously updating data in Salesforce, it may be the case that once someone submits a web form, like here, you would want your web form processing, as it is in Marketing Cloud, to be actually submitting data to both Marketing Cloud and Salesforce at the same time. So you would use AMP script function for it, and you would update data directly on submission. So it would basically have several things happening as part of your form submission. First one, upserting data into Marketing Cloud data extension or some other part of Marketing Cloud, or creating something or deleting something. And secondly, the same click of submission can create something and update something in Salesforce. This is very helpful when you don't want to have any delays between the data transfer, because if you think of it, if you would only to submit the data into Marketing Cloud and change it there, you would need to wait maybe approximately an hour or so. So the data is actually, processed by an automation that is sending the data back into Salesforce by script activity or part of some journey or not. And at the same time, if you have some synchronized data extensions on which the some other part of the system relies on, every 15 minutes during that hour, it would still be getting the previous value, right? And by this double submission to both systems, you make sure that the next synchronized data extension already gets you the new value, and you don't need to wait the full hour. That's a pretty neat one. So the next one is data transformation needed for segmentation decision splits. So let's say you have your data synchronized in synchronized data extensions. You are able to combine several of your data extensions by SQL, and then you have, you can use this data on your processing page. You are able to use it also in those updates that I mentioned before. But basically, any resulting data extensions or segments can be used with this flattened data from different synchronized data extensions. And you are also able to get this data into your decision splits in journeys. So when it comes to individual SMS results, I'm sure that every one of you, when you were thinking individual email results, you were like, okay, individual email results. So what about other channels? So like, why are they left out? Why individual email results? Why not individual messages or individual communication results, whatever? Well, Marketing Cloud Connect out of the box only has individual email results. And this means that all of the other channels need to be somehow covered by a custom solution. So such custom solution can be actually called individual SMS results. I'm not coining that. It's probably just a game of words, but you can call it that. So basically, what you would do, you would use data views in Marketing Cloud, use some SQL to get the data from those data views and combine it, right? So several data views can be queried and the data can be combined for best results. And then you would use a automation with script activity, creating a custom object in Salesforce. So obviously you need to have the object schema created in Salesforce first for you to be able to populate it by your script activity in Marketing Cloud. But then the automation will run hourly, and so you would get some delay, but you will still get very similar results to individual email results because they actually synchronize every 90 minutes. So You will then be able to use this custom object to hold all of your individual results data. And the object can have relationship to some of your different objects. So for example, like your contact or your campaign, etc. So you can actually aggregate the amount of SMS being sent to a specific person. You can aggregate the SMS that are part of a specific campaign if you are actually connecting your SMS to a specific campaign or as part of a specific journey. So you can actually play with all of the different, object magic in Salesforce once you actually get the data from Marketing Cloud into Salesforce. Okay, the next one of the less common ones. So you can use Salesforce as consent management and update data in Marketing Cloud based on it. So Salesforce Core isn't specifically a consent management tool, and you are not to be thinking about it like that. So it is just CRM, and because of that, you are able to kind of simulate the fact that you can use it similar like that if it is a master database of record, but you need to remember that all of the processes need to happen around the consent you need to create yourself because it's not a consent management system. So basically, if you are using the standard GDPR data model in Salesforce, you then would get them as your synchronized extensions in Marketing Cloud. And then, if you are using multiple consents related to object in Salesforce, you could also, flatten those into one data extension in Marketing Cloud if needed be. And also, of course, make sure that this data model is adapted to your company needs. Then you would have an automation with SQL combining all the different data and also the data from Marketing Cloud data extensions, because remember, you might also need to take into account some of your preference center submissions, some of your different unsubscribes from data views, etc., and also get data from synchronous data extensions to be used than in your master data extensions or the segments or other data extensions. And then you would be able to import this activity and update subscription status in Marketing Cloud based on the data that you have received from Salesforce. And it's actually best to have some mapping between the two. So for example, in Marketing Cloud, you have your active and your unsubscribed statuses in Email Studio. So you might think, okay, so how does it actually map to the standard GDPR model in Salesforce? So we have, your opted in, opted out, seen, and unseen. Okay, so maybe your active would be your opted in and your unsubscribed would be your opted out. But what happens to the seen and unseen? It's a business question. You need to raise this question with your product owners. And of course, the distributed marketing, the black swan of the group. I think it's hugely underrated. I think it has a lot of added benefit, business added value for the users in Salesforce. So what you are able to do with distributed marketing, you are able to use emails in Marketing Cloud, and those emails can actually contain some of the distributed marketing content blocks, which enables the users in Salesforce to populate the text or just the images or populate the data basically in the email template itself before then they are able to use this email in the send. So basically your emails and your journeys are created in Marketing Cloud, and then because you have this managed package again installed in Salesforce called distributed marketing, it is possible for the users that have that license in Salesforce to edit the emails that are being provided to them through this connection. And here we say distributed marketing and, of course, Marketing Cloud Connect through this connection. You are able to give them this possibility to edit the emails and then send some users on the journey in Marketing Cloud. So, of course, you have to have the journey in Marketing Cloud. So the users will not be actually creating the journey itself. They only will be editing the emails. The journey should be created in Marketing Cloud already. But then, if they have the distributed marketing license in the connected Salesforce org to that Marketing Cloud, and they have this permission set license, they will be able to choose the active journey and send their specific contacts or their specific campaign members to that journey. And then the contacts will be transferred to Marketing Cloud into the data extension and be sent a journey communication, right? So it is important that You still have your admin in Marketing Cloud that are managing your journey, send you emails, and providing all the needed infrastructure to your business units. However, using the Marketing Cloud Connect and distributed marketing, you can also enable users to pretty much edit the emails as they see fit based on specific campaign rather than have them pre-built and all of the system automations to do the work for them. Right. So those were the common and less common use cases for Marketing Cloud. We are getting, closer to the end of an hour, so we have a couple of other things to look at today. So one of them is actually connector instruction and errors. So this is only one slide, really. I won't bore you with those a lot. There is a full documentation on this one in Salesforce help, so you would need to look at this one for sure if you want to configure Marketing Cloud Connect yourself. But basically, it can be boiled down, and of course, I am saying it in quotes because it's much more complicated process. But if you were to generalize it like that, you have 5 different steps. So you have your prerequisites, right? So your user types. So you need a system user in Salesforce. You have an API user in Marketing Cloud that need to have full data access, right? You also need to have an installed managed package on Salesforce side, and you need to decide whether you need to have a single org or a multi-org. So those are your prerequisites. Second step is configuring Marketing Cloud. So you need to go to setup, connect to Salesforce, and integrate the two clouds between themselves and assign the business units. So the next step would actually be to configure CRM, to configure Salesforce. So you would need to set up authentication, assign default workflow users, update page layouts, launch your setup wizard, and then connect to Marketing Cloud. So then this handshake is actually complete. The fourth point is user integration. So, of course, your main user needs to be integrated. If you're using Global User, you would also want to integrate more users between the two orgs. This is empirically, from my experience, a step that only is kind of required on the handshake users, right? So the system user and the API users. All the other users, from my experience, it's less of a common use case. And if, of course, there's a single org, then you can map some profile attributes. So 3 main problems that can occur when you are setting up Marketing Cloud Connect. First of all, you can connect to the wrong business unit, right? And to make sure you don't connect to the wrong business unit, you need to make sure to log out of your Marketing Cloud, log out of your Salesforce org from all of the different browsers and tabs and what you have there on your computer, so that you make sure that you're not logged in on any of them. So you have a clean slate for your integration. And actually, closing the window doesn't count as a login out. So go ahead and proactively click it, log it out. So make sure you're logged out. Having the wrong connection between business units can actually mess up quite a lot. So please don't go there. Save yourself from this error and make sure to log out every time you need to connect your connector. So the second might be that you have a wrong business unit visible after connection. So think about a scenario when you have access to several business units and you are creating a connection, for example, on a single org basis, and you need to connect, only one business unit out of different ones, and your user has access to multiple business units. So make sure that your user has access to correct business units in Marketing Cloud, and ideally you actually want to have for this API user to have access only to the business units they need for the integration. Don't give them access to everything if they don't need everything, and also don't forget to give them access to something they actually need, right? So also, it is ideal that your API user in Marketing Cloud has the business unit that they need to be connecting as their default business unit. So this, of course, works better for the multi-org setup, but it's best for you then to not kind of get confused when you are setting out all of the connector. And the third one, of course, some synchronized objects are not available. Sometimes you would do off your connection and you would go into your contact builder and you would go into the synchronized sources and you would not see the objects that you want. So make sure that in Salesforce side, you are using the correct permission set setup. Ideally, it should be an admin with modify all permissions. Sometimes I know in some orgs, it can be tricky to get this high level of permission. Salesforce recommends for it to be admin, and for good reason, mainly because if it's not admin, any new object that you create in Salesforce would need to have access given to it manually, or they would need to be part of some profile that would need to be included into specific object, etc., etc. And it's quite easy to mess it up, right? And it's quite hard to maintain. It's quite hard to get right. We've tried it a couple of times with different projects. It majority it just does boil down to giving admin to that system user in Salesforce. It's just the best idea, and it is recommended by Salesforce for a reason. Right. There's also, full instruction for connector Marketing Cloud Connect step by step. So I think it would be very wise for you to actually go through it yourself and click through it. If you have access to Marketing Cloud, you can get access to a Salesforce dev work and try to connect the two. Actually, then go ahead and disconnect the two and connect them again and see if anything breaks and try to fix it yourself, because it is something that, doing by learning kind of is the best approach here. All right, so we are approaching the end, so I'm pretty proud of you guys if you stayed for this long during this presentation. So the homework that we have for today consists of 3 tasks. So first of all, you need to get a fresh Marketing Cloud business unit, get a fresh Salesforce dev org, and connect the two. And it seems to be very easy in 3 different points, but it can be tricky when you go through all the documentation and actually try to click it through yourself. But try to do it. As I mentioned, it's learning by doing, really, and practice makes perfect, all of the good stuff. So please go ahead and do that. That's the first thing. Once you have connected the clouds, the next thing to actually go ahead and check your connection would be to create an entry one journey. So make sure that you go ahead and use Salesforce data and you add one of your objects based on creation and update. And then you do at least, several Salesforce activities to check the connection the other way around, and then test your journey. It's also important for you to understand how the connection fully works, and I think the best way to do it is actually to go ahead and test it live. Probably not a great idea to send emails as part of your journey. Probably like a random split would just do. If you just want, the records to flow from one cloud to the other, a random split in the journey would do just fine for them to get into the journey. And the third exercise that I would recommend as part of this learning of Marketing Cloud Connect is to use synchronized data extensions. So go ahead and synchronize at least 5 different objects, then create like a simplest email in Marketing Cloud, and then use your presentation strings to get the data from synchronized data extensions. The trick there is that the data in synchronized data extensions is the name of the columns is exactly how it appears in Salesforce, plus the way that you would get to them through the relationship to contact, right? So if the data that you want to include there is from a case and your contact is actually going into the journey, then your case number would be in your synchronized, not synchronized, but journey Salesforce entry data extensions would be contact dot case dot, and then you have the name of your attribute, right? So it's important for you to understand how it looks. So I highly recommend for you to synchronize at least 5 different objects, for them to be not contact and lead, for them to be some related objects to those two, and then create an email and choose this personalization and see, test it around, work with it. Right, so hopefully everyone's on board with that kind of exercise. Give me some claps, I don't know, give me some thumbs up if you're up for it. I'm just really curious how many of you are going to actually try it. I have 1, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's go. Go you rock. Right, so the fun part of our today's meetup is actually checking whether you've learned anything, right? So that's important, right? So we have a bit of a quiz in the end. So if you could please scan this QR code here, and then I will open up my Menti presentation and share this with you in just a second. So we're just waiting for some people, so please join. Come on. There we go. We have some people. Right. Okay. A lot of emoticons. Awesome. I'm curious what kind of names you guys chose, because sometimes this Menti gives you ridiculous nicknames, and then it's hard to identify who you actually were. You have to remember it. So remember what's your nickname, so you can actually identify if you won or not. Okay. So let's wait another 10 seconds. Okay. Awesome. Let's start. So you have to answer fast to get as many points. So what is the minimum frequency for synchronized data extension to refresh? So think about it, have a good time thinking about it, and see if you can guess this one. So what is the maximum frequency of the synchronized data extension refresh? So what is it? Okay, it's actually 15 minutes, but I can see that some of you are thinking 1 hour. Well, if it would be 1 hour, it would be much less near real time than we actually would want in Marketing Cloud. So definitely a 15-minute is much better. I do hope that this result is actually even improved in the future. Of course, forward-looking statement, I'm not aware of it, but let's hope for it. It will. But yes, it is actually 15 minutes. It is 1 hour frequency for automations, but it's 15 minutes for synchronous data extensions. All right, so let's see the leaderboard. Currently, we have Svyat and Nazar and Lakshmi at the top 3. Congratulations, guys. Let's go and see how we do the next round. We have 5 questions overall, so everyone can actually get, their best shot. Okay, so next one. Can you disable multi-org setup? A very important question. So let's see. Write to Salesforce support, disconnect from Marketing Cloud. It cannot be disabled, or actually do through setup and go to integration, multi-org setup, and disable. What's your guess? Wow, we have a great disparity here. Well, I'm very glad to see that actually for people who think that it can't be disabled, because in fact, yes, it cannot be disabled. It's not possible. Once you enable multi-org setup and Salesforce support, make sure to inform you that that's the case, you cannot disable it. There is no such setup in Marketing Cloud, and disconnecting from Marketing Cloud, it doesn't really change anything. And writing to Salesforce support, they will just, remind you that you have actually chosen it yourself. So yeah, let's see if the stats actually changed. Okay, actually, we see some difference. Okay, congratulations, Sanjit. You actually are our leader currently. Let's see. Let's go next. So, what Salesforce entry events are there? That's a complicated one. Let's see if you get it. So we have Salesforce campaign, Salesforce trigger, and community welcome. Salesforce data entry, Salesforce community welcome, and Salesforce campaign, or Salesforce audience, Salesforce data entry, and community welcome. That's a tricky one. Come on. There you go. Well done. Well done, most of you. 5 people actually guessed it correctly. Well done. Let's see how that impacts our scoreboard. Okay. Well, that's a wild ride. We have changes all over. We have Harsh as the fastest here. Well done. Okay, question number 4. We have 5 overall, so you have to focus. What is the recommended way to view email results in Salesforce? You have to create a custom solution. You have to use API to insert emails results into Salesforce, or you can use individual email results. I know you know it. Come on. I know you know it. Right. Well, majority of you knew it, so well done. It was exactly the individual email results. So with all of this, its caveats and pros and cons, but it is the recommended solution by Salesforce. Right? Okay. We have Nazar in the leads here. That's a tough one, guys. You are like head to head. Get it. Right. And the last question. So this would be, deciding who wins. What allows you to use distributed marketing? What allows you marketing distributed marketing to do? So what does it actually do, right? Sorry, my English there is a bit of a pity, but I hope you understand it. So it gets you distributed marketing tasks integrated or send contacts into journeys. There you go. Well done, guys. Awesome. And the final leaderboard is congratulations, Priyabarat. Congratulations. And also congratulations to Nazar and Sriat, who were second and third in our score here. Awesome, guys. So that's it really for today from me. Let me open up LinkedIn and see if there was anything in the questions. Okay, I think all of the questions before I have actually um, replied to. So thanks a lot, everyone. It was a joy to kind of give you a slight piece of this information about Salesforce Marketing Cloud Connect. I hope you actually go through the homework and you learn it yourself in terms of the practice, and you see all of the perks of this solution and use it on your projects. Thanks a lot, guys.
Uh, Hello, Anastasia. Thank you so much for the quiz and for an excellent session. I saw that there are lots and lots of comments that our viewers today loved it. So thank you so much for being with us. Let's see, maybe there are some last questions because I know that sometimes you need maybe to wait for them. So if there are any, so please just shout it in the comments area, and I hope Anastasia will have a chance to answer.
Perfect. Awesome job, Brandon. I think we all get our shot, and sometimes it's a matter of speed. You'll get it next time for sure.
Yeah, that was really fun. I saw that like a really great competition there.
It was.
Okay, so I think that if there are no more questions, we thank Anastasia again. It was so lovely for you today to have you at this webinar to share your inspiring knowledge about Marketing Cloud. Thank you so much. So thank you all for watching. We invite you to the next series of our Marketing Cloud webinars. So the next one would be the next Tuesday. So all are welcome.
It will be very amazing, guys. Mateusz Dombrowski, our Marketing Cloud MVP from PwC, is going to be presenting. And then, of course, we have the next great MVP. We have Elliot Harper coming to us next week. So it will be two amazing sessions. If you want to learn more about what you can actually do with the development and coding in Marketing Cloud, I fully recommend it. Those are the two amazing speakers. They will definitely get you upgraded in terms of your Marketing Cloud knowledge. So you can't miss it.
Okay, so everyone, then goodbye. Thank you. Thank you again. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.